Okay, everybody, welcome back to the third installment of our Heart Talk podcast. With me again is Alyssa.
Hello.
Yes, Alyssa, thank you for joining once again.
You're welcome.
My third guest and hopefully forever guest, however long this lasts. Today, we are going to be talking about the body of video games on our little exploration time through what we think about video games.
Yes, indeed. So, we talked a lot about introductions and why we think they're important or maybe not so important. So this week, we're going to delve into maybe a more big picture of video games themselves and kind of what we think about them.
Yes. And let me just cut in real quick. Just got over some sickness. I'm going to be coughing a lot, and I'm going to do my best to turn off the mic so you guys don't have to listen to my horrendous cough. And don't worry, by the time you're listening to this, I probably am dead, but it's fine because you're...
Thank God.
Exactly, but you're listening to the podcast, and that's all that matters. So, yes, were you still in the middle of a thought?
No, I don't have those.
No.
We're good.
Okay, fantastic. So just to picture, throw it out for you guys. We're going to throw the entire podcast into like a few basic parts. We're going to be talking about the body of the games. We're going to be talking about mechanics, storyline, art style, soundtrack, how those come together to make your favorite video game so great. And first, talking about mechanics and how the game works is a huge... We're going to say... I'm just going to stop and not say, this is a huge part of video games, because I don't think there's a single thing on here that's not. Even though we're just going to say it anyway, probably. But mechanics... Huge. Are a huge deal of video games. Said it again. Because it kind of... The way your character works and the way your environment interacts with you decides how you're going to enjoy the game, or if you're not going to enjoy the game.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think that we've all played games that have glitchy mechanics, and it's just the worst. Like, oh my gosh, what was the game I was playing? I think I was replaying Knights of the Old Republic, and I had been playing for probably 30, and I know I should save more than often than 30 minutes, but I've been playing for about 30 minutes. And then I just walked into an area and my character got stuck. I was like, no, please no. And I you're like jamming all the buttons and trying to, and then it's all gone and you have to go back. Even though mechanics may not be the first thing that you kind of think about with video games, I think that they make a huge difference in that the easier the mechanics are to work with, the more smooth the playing experience.
Yeah, and I think even going with mechanics, glitches, I guess that is kind of a glitch as well, play into it. So Fallout 3, one of my favorite games of all time, but sometimes the mechanics were just human garbage. And especially the first time I played it, I played Fallout 3, I played the first time with a friend of mine, Steven, on his Xbox 360, and I was like, whoa, this is an amazing game. Didn't play the whole thing on that, so I thought it was a fantastic idea to get this on a PlayStation 3. Little did I know that Fallout 3 on a console is garbage, it's trash. Because, and the same thing with Alyssa, I didn't save very often when I started playing these, this is when I started playing RPGs. And I was like, I don't need to save that often, it's fine. Because Hardtack Mac is the best tack that ever hearted And I would be walking through the wasteland, just everything would be fine, and I get into a battle, and my second hit or shot or whatever, and then the game just froze, and my heart stopped.
No.
Yeah, it froze.
That's so sad too, because it's not even your fault.
Yeah, I know.
You didn't get killed. It's the worst.
And the thing is with that, usually you can press the PlayStation button and at least close the application, or wait it out even. But no. With this was an often reoccurring thing with Fallout 3. This happened to me at least 20 times. You have to force shut down your system and turn it back on. It was so bad. But the thing is, I guess something to say is that, whatever component of the game that you prefer can sometimes outweigh these. The story and atmosphere were such huge components of Fallout 3 that I didn't care about that. I kept going and going and going and going until I beat the game, and I still loved it.
I think that almost, this is probably more with maybe art style, but I think that kind of reminds me of graphics too, how some of those old games, you go back and play those graphics and you're like, oh my gosh, what is this? But it just kind of, that replayability makes it so worth it.
And that's why kids today are so entitled, and they're so just, it's ridiculous that they can't go back and play the fun games we played because of the graphics. You know?
Back in my day, we had 0.5 pixels, and we loved it. We loved it.
Yeah, it was a great thing. And it's funny talking about that. I feel bad because it's ruined my perception of games too. So stuff that I haven't played that's old, I can't really start it, and I feel like one of those millennials, man. I mean, they tell me like,
Mac, no, don't be a millennial.
No, I go back and I want to play. Oh no, not StarCraft. Why can't I think of this? They're on their 15th installment right now.
Final
Fantasy, yes. And they're like, Final Fantasy, I think 8 is...
Is that actually correct?
Yeah, you are, yeah. Final Fantasy...
Oh my gosh, I was making a joke, wow.
8 is the preferred installment of the game, and then people are like, oh man, you gotta play it, it's my favorite game. And then I'm like, okay, cool, let me just look at it, and I'm like, oh, fuck that. That is not something I will be playing, because I'm being totally discriminative because of the graphics, and which is sad, because, I mean, I hear it's got a great story, but... I will not be playing that.
You remind me, I had this friend in high school who, do you know the Twilight Zone, the TV show Twilight Zone?
Yeah.
Yes. I had a friend who I was so excited. I was like, you would love this. Brought her over to our house, pulled up Netflix, and then I started playing the episodes, and of course these are very old. This is an old TV show, so they're black and white. And she goes, I can't watch things in black and white. I was like, what? What? It's like, yeah, I can't. I was like, what?
It's just an inability.
Right. So we did not watch Twilight Zone, but that has stuck with me to this day. I was like, wow. What?
I can do that.
I want you to know you're now lumped in that category because you won't play that. So, congratulations.
But I can watch black and white movies. It's just this.
It's just not.
Which seems worse to me, but I don't know. Not sure.
It could be. You can do a whole podcast on Twilight Zone. I love Twilight Zone.
You are in Twilight Zone. I don't know. I probably said that wrong, honestly. You probably are in the Twilight Zone.
Okay. So, mechanics we talked about. I think that we covered... I mean, I guess we haven't talked about specifically how important is it to the game. How high would you rank that? And you like those little holes where you slide it? Somewhat important. Very important. How would you describe
my scale would be from Mac to heart attack Mac. I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to brand myself. It's hard, man. So
wow, good job. You're doing great, kid.
From 1 to 10, 1 being doesn't impact and 10 being the most impactful to a video game, I would probably say I would say a 3 to me, honestly. Because I don't lump to me, I think the graphics would be art style, but I guess that they don't really choose if it's an old game for it to be poor graphics, but I don't...
Right, it's it was cutting edge at the time, but then when you go back to play it, it's
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to keep it thinking that it's the glitchiness or how it's played, or if you play a first-person shooter on Call of Duty, it's going to be different on... Medal of Honor is a different control structure. I don't think it's that important for me. That my explanation with Fallout. So 3. What do you think?
I would say I would rank mechanics at around a... I would say I would put them at a 4.7.
5?
4.7.
5. No, 4.75.
I refuse to be... Yes, that's fine. 4.75. I refuse to be defined by your scale. I think because... The only reason I would make it slightly higher is because, for me, I think that it's one of those things that if it's really good, I don't notice it, and that's kind of ideal. Whereas if it's really bad, like, oh, because I mean, I guess you can kind of key map, but like even I think of like key mapping and sometimes how it's done so poorly and just it doesn't run smoothly. But then I think about like really cool things that creators can put in the game. So like Mass Effect Andromeda had this really cool feature. I can't think of what it's called, so sorry about it. But it's where basically you have this like propulsion almost, and you kind of like so you've got like a jetpack, and it kind of gives you these like short bursts of speed, either upwards or on the horizontal plane, and so it kind of gives you these speed bursts, and it added a really cool dynamic to the fighting in the game. So I think that there are certain things in mechanics that can add a really cool aspect, and so that's why I'd probably rank it a little bit higher. So, but
Okay.
right, I definitely agree it's not like the most important thing in the world.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, and then next is storyline. So, I mean, wait, do you agree that we kind of covered this last time, or did we not? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think we did a good job of covering already. I don't
Okay.
think we need to talk too much, but just to say, that having a good storyline, especially for us, because I think we're very RPG oriented people,
Mm-hmm.
having a good storyline is really, really important. But, you know, certainly a good game can be lacking in somewhat in story, but not a whole lot.
But I think in that sense, to me, the only reason that would be true is if the game doesn't need to have a story, like Binding of Isaac. It doesn't need that like whole background that I talked about. You could really just be thrown into it and
Yeah.
have all these power ups, and it would be just as fun. But that aside, I mean, but if it's a game that really needed the story and it doesn't have it, it really suffers.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's true, because there are definitely games out there that are just meant to be fun for the sake of fun. So, absolutely agree.
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
So,
art style.
art style. Art. Gosh.
It's all around you.
I feel like true. I feel like as a horribly unobservant human being, this is something that is like lost on me unless I'm like really paying attention or it's really good. Because I definitely think there's moments when you're kind of looking at that scene in game and it's just this beautiful, like you kind of just walk outside, I guess, in game and it's just this beautiful scenery, and I think that I do notice that. So it's really, I think it makes the game a lot more engaging.
Yeah, definitely. And also, when the going back to the graphics, when artists choose or game developers choose different types of art styles or even graphics, like if they want to make an indie, they may be a AAA company, but they make an 8-bit looking indie sort of game. That makes a huge difference on the playability. Like if you want an RPG that's got a lot of dialogue in it, but it's not. But maybe you didn't have a budget to get the voice actors, so it's just text based. I mean, that could probably be 8-bit style, which makes it look really nice. But it might look weird if you have a 3D RPG with no voice. That really makes a big
Right.
deal.
I think art style in general in games is also cool because it's something that's like very unique to the individual games.
Yeah.
So that I think that's one way for, because I mean very few games look the same. I think that's something really neat about indie games too, is that they can bring their own artistic style, and that kind of is dependent on the creators, the people working on the game, and I think that's really, really neat. So I think that that's, once again, maybe not making or breaking the game for me, but still, I love like opening up a game and just being like, wow, that's so cool. Like you have that
Mm-hmm.
moment of this appreciation when you see like true art kind of coming through.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I've seen a lot lately in some games that don't necessarily. Well, they're heavily story driven, but they don't really have a lot of like mechanics or playability. Where it's just, I call them just artsy types of games where they're trying to just convey something. I don't know if I talked about it, but there's a game called That Dragon Cancer. Have I talked about that on here?
I don't know. Have you?
It's no, I don't know. Maybe I just talked to you about it. Or not at all. Basically, if you haven't heard of it, it's a game about cancer and death, and it's Super Sad Panda. It's about a guy who him and his wife have a child who's still an infant, and they find out very soon after after the birth that the child is dying, like in a year of some type of cancer, and so The dad creates a game, I think, after the death of his child, and he creates the game um, with recordings of his wife and him having conversations through this like entire process, and it's basically to make you feel like how he felt. And there are a lot of scenes where he over dramatizes certain events, and um, will have you like you're like walking upstairs and you don't really like the stairs appear every time you make a step, a stair appears, so you don't really know where you're going, and then it all comes crashing down, and it's like it's very literal, but he's trying to
Like symbolic almost too, yeah.
yeah, right. And I like stuff like that where more recently at least, where you're playing a game and it's not really just to win or any you're not winning, you're just trying to like explore this person's mind, sort of like the beginner's guide that I talked about earlier, which is great
Yeah.
if you like that sort of game.
Yeah, and I remember you talked a lot about Cuphead last time too, which I feel like is another example of, in particular, a lot of work went into that artistically, but
Yeah.
just kind of an interesting expression of someone's artistic interpretation, which I think is really, really neat.
Yes, and I will talk about it at the end of this too, because I have some more things to add. Unfortunately, you're like, oh my god, more.
Cuphead #1 fan right here. Well, I think it's just because I haven't had a chance to play it yet, so for like I think oh my gosh, I appreciate how much time went into it because my goodness. And other people are like, I hope you make a sequel, and I'm like, you guys gonna wait 10 years for that sequel, cause
Yeah, that's probably what's gonna happen.
so art 1 to 10, what do you rank it as?
Ooh, I'm gonna rank it as a 7. As a 7.
Oh,
To me,
okay.
storyline would be higher, like an 8 or a 9, but art style is 7, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that I would probably rank it as a 5.
That's
I'm gonna
5.
give it an even 5
Okay.
because I definitely appreciate it, but also because I'm horribly unobservant, I feel like I have to rank it lower because unless it's like really, really good, I'm probably not gonna notice.
Yeah.
And that's probably not a good thing, but it's just is.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So next,
Soundtrack.
soundtrack.
Whatever that would be. That's a soundtrack.
That was a great
That's-
set. That is original.
Yes.
I love it. We're creating our own art here.
Yep. Yeah. We're content creators. YouTube.
Yeah,
Pay
we
me.
are. Content. Tense of con.
Yes,
All right.
exactly. If you didn't know what that meant, now you know. The tense of con.
now you do.
We are smart peoples on Heart Talk.
Always. I'm the smartest person I know. I don't know about
But you were about to say the smartest person at Heart Talk, and I was
know.
like, we need to have a conversation offline.
Okay.
Yes.
So back to music and to kind of talking about music. How do you like find yourself listening to music soundtracks a lot? Do you
Yes.
music soundtracks? Oh my gosh.
Words are
Video game
hard.
soundtracks.
What?
Did you know that soundtracks have music? Is that
Words
like,
in
that's
vernacular.
a weird thing that oh my god.
Yes, I do. But with soundtracks, are we talking about scores or all music in the game? Because that can be different. If we're just talking about
That's true.
covers that are in the song. Because I actually had a conversation with a gentleman who views my streams the other day about this, and he's like, dude, you should totally listen to the Dark Souls soundtrack. And I found like 3 different things, and I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? And he was talking about the score, not the soundtrack. So
Right, because I know exactly, because like I gotta think about Fallout with that, because with Fallout you've got your sound, the like 40s kind of big band soundtrack, and then also the musical acoustic score in the background. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes, and that actually is very good. If you turn off the radio in Fallout, you can listen to that stuff. It's actually really good, and the New Vegas one's great too. I do find myself doing that a lot. I've listened to Fallout 3, New Vegas, Lone Survivor. There's a really good mobile game that has an awesome soundtrack. You keep talking, and I will try to find it.
It's the soundtrack. Okay.
Yes.
I was saying, because like I definitely have gotten into soundtracks way more recently. There's something about like putting in earbuds and walking down the street to a soundtrack, whether it be a movie score. I guess I'm talking about scores more right now.
Yeah.
But like putting in the movie scores and sound and video, but like it's really overlooked, I think, sometimes. But I don't know, if you guys are ever studying and need something to like pass the time to play as white noise, I would definitely recommend it. I mean, recently I was listening to the Mass Effect score. That was really, really good, especially the Mass Effect 3 score. I kind of like the intensity of it. But by and large, I think it's really, really, it's really cool. Because I just think that it's like a lot of work goes into that, and I think it's really neat that movies aren't exclusively where you're going to find those complex, beautiful, intricate pieces. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I was about to play a snippet of like one of my and one of your favorite like songs from a soundtrack, but then I just realized that YouTube will like probably destroy my channel with every fiber in their body if I do that. So, sorry, kids.
Wait, what was it from? I'll sing it.
Lone Survivor. You wouldn't. I mean, it's just. It's like a.
Yeah, no,
it's
I
a
wouldn't
score. Okay.
Nice.
And you were in the middle
I'll
of your
learn
thought.
all the notes and I'll sing it next time. It'll be
Sounds
great.
good. We'll do it.
Exactly. Perfect. It'll be a perfect representation. Actually, I probably shouldn't do that because then YouTube will take it down because it won't be able to tell the difference. So.
Oh no.
Right.
No.
So, but I think that soundtracks are something that are really interesting because even though you may not notice that they're there, if they were gone, it would be a hugely different experience. Like you wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, like think about the Pokemon games. Like think about like that. You know that sound that like the song that it plays when, like the like the when the trainers the trainers like attack you in the wild. That's what and it just like it just starts to grate on you, like, because you're like, I just want to walk in peace, bully, or like even just wild Pokemon attacking you, and just becomes this thing in your brain. At least for me, where I'm just like, I never want to hear this again. I just want to get to Pallet Town and move on with my life. Like,
I just want to become an accountant like my dad and just get rid of this stuff. Come on.
Right, exactly. Seriously, it's like, oh.
Why Pokemon?
And like even now, because I just happened to come across this like live action, and I just heard that song and like immediately cringed, and I was like, oh. And I just think that kind of shows you how even without you realizing it, those soundtracks stick with you, and you definitely learn to associate them with certain things, which I think is really cool.
Yes, yeah, those associations are big, especially in those old games. They and I mean that goes with shows and movies and all that stuff. So. I mean, it's big. Even if you don't think that it's big and you don't care about the sound, it has impacted your life, and you owe it a debt of gratitude.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You terrible humans. So the game I was thinking,
right?
I know, right? I hate millennials. Just so I don't offend anybody out there, I'm 23. Alyssa's similar age. We are millennials, but we hate them.
I actually hate myself, so it's not that I hate millennials, I just really hate myself, truly.
Right, and means you should be a Gen X, but that's fine, it's whatever. The game I was thinking of was Faster Than Light, which is a mobile/PC game. It's fantastic on both platforms. If you haven't played it, check it out. Like, comment, subscribe. But it has an awesome...
Subtlety.
It has an awesome soundtrack. The game's about space, and you're in a spaceship that's like pretty bare bones, and you're trying to get from the beginning of the galaxy to the end, and you're basically like there's this galactic armada that you're trying to beat to your destination to alert them of the armada, and that's just its own thing of describing the game. But the music is cool. It uses like some techno-y type of music, electric, and it's amazing, and I listen to it all the time. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think that. Okay, I guess the real question here then is on the 1 to 10 scale, where do you put the soundtrack?
Man, I put them all too high, and I probably should re-rate them.
We could have made the scale 1 to 5. It would have been a simpler scale. It's too late. We can't go back now.
We can't go back. I would give this a solid 9. I would give it a 9 because so many of the games I've played have they've stayed in my head because of the soundtrack and also playing it. I mean, until recently, until I matured, quotes included there. Oof. I realized how big of a deal it was, how big those go into your gameplay experience, and I mean, listen. Also, Skyrim's got an amazing one. I'm actually going back and playing Skyrim, continuing it from 10 years ago now, and I played it for a little while back, but I found that I love the soundtrack. I bought the soundtrack, listened to it all the time, and now I'm playing the game like full hardcore, hours and hours and hours, and I'm like, wow, I love these songs before.
Dovahkiin.
And the funny part, so there's a song in there called Streets of Whiterun. I highly encourage you to check it out, even though you probably won't. But I love that song. Like that is my hands down favorite song of that entire score. And when I got married, my wife was like, if you have some songs to suggest for the wedding, let me know. And then her sister was going through and like crossing them out because she was like our wedding planner, and she's just like, these are not acceptable for the wedding. But then she found this one, and she ended up telling my wife that this is a very good wedding song. I was like, swag.
Yes,
I love
that
it.
is so exciting.
Yeah, I know, it was. And so when I'm like walking, I don't know if you remember it, but you might listen to it and then it would inspire memories. But I'm like, I was so pumped that this was in my wedding. I'm like walking up the aisle and I saw a friend of mine that I knew played this game a lot, and I was just like this is the wedding, like not the rehearsal. I was like, dude, this is Skyrim, like in the middle of this, and I was telling like 4 people this is Skyrim. I felt so stupid, but it was so cool because I'm like, this is my favorite song, and in the best moment of my life, and it all came together in this sobbing mess of my wedding, of me crying.
Incredible. I did not know.
Yes.
But remember, that comes back to being horribly unobservant. If I listened to it and thought about it, I might. But
Probably not.
throw back to your wedding.
Throw it back.
Wait, okay, so I don't know why this made me think of this. Jordan, there's someone at your wedding that I had known from high school, and I was just like,
Yeah, Jordan.
I guess we went to the same high school, so it kind of makes sense now that I think about it, but that was like weird. Sorry, tangents. I'm just thinking, you brought me back to your wedding now, and I'm thinking about it.
I think like our wedding, not to be like, bragging, but
You're about to be conceited.
Not to be conceited. We brought a lot of people together who wouldn't normally be like. So my wife's family is very like family oriented, and they have no problem meeting new people. My family is not. My family is like they love each other apart, and they're not like, they don't argue with each other or hate each other. They just don't really go places. We do that sometimes, but then this wedding, everybody came. Like a lot of her family came, which was normal. But then like my small family all came, and most of them would not normally have done this sort of thing. And they had this like mini family reunion, and I was like, that's so cool that we did that.
That is really cool.
We
That's
only
not
got
even bragging. That's just like you being
Yeah.
excited about something.
Yeah, I guess so. We didn't even get to spend that much time with it. We after the wedding, we had like an hour, but we went to our honeymoon, and then they had like a weekend with everybody, and I was like, wow, that's cool. Wish I was there, but whatever. I'm married. I have a whiff now.
Wow, they were like, thank goodness he's gone.
Go to Florida, you stupid idiot.
No. That is really cool. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was
Oh
fun.
my gosh.
So now, did you have a thought?
No, I don't have a thought. I have no thought.
Okay.
We're good. So we want to talk
Shoot
about
it
life
out.
updates, now that we talked about games.
We gotta put it all together. We gotta wrap a bow around this.
That's true.
Episode 3, Body of Games. I'm gonna put you on the spot after I do my thing. I want to talk about a game that I think embodies all these very well. Not like my favorite game of all time, because we already did that, and I don't want to say that again. But I think it'd be cool to talk about that. So,
Okay, let's do it.
no surprise to anybody, but I think Cuphead is what I want to talk about. Yes.
You said earlier you wanted to talk about it, so literally no one is surprised.
Oh, right. Totally forgot. So, yeah, Cuphead. Cuphead is just mwah. Not gonna talk about the hours spent playing the game, though they were tremendous. I'm sorry, making the game, though they were tremendous on the creator's part. But I'm gonna talk about these factors. I mean, mechanics. We're gonna talk about how you shoot in the game. It's simple. It's so simple. You just pew pew, and you have like up to like 8 different kind of shots. That's, I mean, of the different types of things you can do, that's not a lot. And then you have maybe like 5 or 6, they call them charms. It's just ways that you can change the game. Like you get an extra life, or your dash makes you invincible. Stuff like that. It's like not too complicated. Like that's the most complex it gets in that game. I think they did a good job of making it simple, easy, and that was it, because that's not part of the game. The part of the game is tearing your air out because you hate how hard it is. And they did that very well. But storyline, it was simple enough for them to, they understood it's a 2D platformer. We don't need to have a huge story, but they threw it out there. They're like, these guys, they did some stupid stuff. Now they're in debt with the devil. Gotta kill these guys to get back at the devil. Yeah, just casually. And then art style and soundtrack are the 2 biggest pluses of this game. Art style, I talked before, they have drawn, the creators drew every single frame in that game. Amazing. You don't see a game like that. Just bluntly, you don't see anything like this at all right now. It looks great. They knew in the beginning they wanted this like 1920s sort of cartoon style, but they didn't know how to do it, and they ended up trashing the idea and then coming back when they had a couple cool designs. So I mean, that was cool because it shows their personalities to the game, and it's fun to play. It's just so fun to live through this stuff. And like as you're spinning, I mean, I spent an entire day on this game, 24 hours, and I have like a little amount to play still, but it's almost done. It's a lot of time, but
Oh wait, do you mean like at once, or do you mean like in
no,
all?
no, in all.
I
Once.
thought you literally meant that you just stayed, like, you played that game for 24 hours straight, and I was
No.
like, but why?
No, I'm almost at like 24 total.
Okay, I feel like a little bit better about that. Okay, continue. Please continue.
A lot, probably.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the soundtrack is a similar thing. I mean, not as shocking as the art, but I think it's great. They kept the same theme as the art style, just the setting that's in, and it's the soundtrack combined with the voice styles. They try to make it sound like 20s, like ready go, and they had cool echoing effects going on, and it was just, God, that game is so good. It's a small little platformer that, again, the anger that I felt in that game has not been felt in quite a while for a video game, but I love it, and it's beautiful. And I'm gonna hand it to you. What is your game that you love for the
my
body?
game? Well, okay, so I think that, especially since we talked a lot about art in this particular podcast, the game that comes to mind is the one that I talked about previously, which is Ori and the Blind Forest. Because I think that that's a game that's... I think a lot of the indie games especially tend to be, and not always certainly, but tend to be very art heavy because it's a small group of people and they have a lot more, I think, leeway to kind of have that artistic expression.
Sure.
But Ori and the Blind Forest, I think, was so beautiful. Like the scenery, and they just kind of the way they kind of had, they have the storyline, good versus evil, and the kind of contrast of light versus dark. And I just thought it's just very beautifully done. And the soundtrack as well is very peaceful and calming and beautiful. And so I think that's, I certainly don't know how much time went into it. Probably nothing compared to Cuphead, as most games would probably fall short of 10 years. But I think that overall, that just is a game that will always stick with me, because even though it was simple in a lot of ways, like, there wasn't any kind of extremely complex or new mechanic really, there were certainly some things that were creative about it, and I don't want to talk about it too much to spoil it for anyone that hasn't played it, but just overall, I thought that the game is just it's so serene and just very intricate in the details, and you're kind of exploring a forest, as you could probably guess, because the title is Ori and the Blind Forest.
Yes,
So,
yes.
some novel. I'm sure that was novel to everyone. You're actually in a forest. Spoilers. But I love it, and I love just one example, I guess, that I would give is there's a character in it that's introduced in the beginning, so it's not really a spoiler, but basically there's a tree that's kind of like the tree of life, and just the scenery, you see these scenes, and there's all this light, and it's beautiful, and oh my gosh, and I think I said the word beautiful 6 times, so it's not really
Tremendous, I think is the word you're looking for.
Tremendous. It's just tremendous. Huge. But yeah, I think that for me, that's a game that if you were to ask me what's a game that just does a good job all around and really captures that artistic style of quality soundtrack and beautiful graphics and art, I would say that for me that's Ori and the Blind Forest.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this. I think we got one more of these types of podcasts. We're going to be talking about conclusions and how, or I guess endings is a better word for video games, and how those make an impact on the way you play them. That one, I'm going to just say, spoilers probably will be in it because of the nature of what we're talking about.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I'll probably just have to ready myself for whatever Alyssa has because it'll be fine. I might have to just rush through all the Mass Effects before we do this. Ugh.
Maybe I'll avoid Mass Effect just for you.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I'll tell you to turn your speaker off. Count to 38, come and turn it back on.
And then there's just this huge pause of nothing. Waiting for
I'll
me to
find something.
return.
Like I said, I'll come up with something creative. I'll tell the internet all my deepest, darkest secrets. Because I said that I won't do that on streams, but podcasts it's fine. So
Oh, good. Okay.
What that actually means is I'll talk bad about you while you're not listening.
Oh.
Get wrecked.
Oh. Cool. So that was the 3rd episode. Thank you guys for joining. Really quick, I'm gonna talk about some housekeeping things. I hate when people say that word actually, so just redact that from this podcast. Luna,
Redact?
I'm
Is
just
that a
kidding.
word?
It is. Redact. Your dad should have taught you that word long ago.
Yeah, when I was studying for the GRE,
to
he was like,
remove.
every word on the GRE was related to law. And he was like, yeah, this is this. And I was like, wow, thank you.
Thanks, Dad. You're amazing. So I am moving soon. So I'm moving to Georgia, a little bit north from Florida. I have a new job.
As a peach farmer.
As a peach farmer, that is exactly what I will be doing. So just giving you guys a heads up, probably going to see a lack of content soon. We may put out one more podcast, I'm not sure, but I'm going to need to be packing stuff away and focusing on all that. So I will be streaming as often as I possibly can, so please go to my Discord for those updates. But that's kind of what's going on here. And again, thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it, and all the feedback is welcome. I think we're having some fun here. And then after this next episode, we should be talking about more random podcast stuff, and we're trying to break down our personality and how that is going to jive with this thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that our hope is that, this is certainly a video game channel, so we definitely will probably talk very heavily about video games, but there's more to us than video games. We're very complex people. We're very complex, so
creatures, I would say.
That was a Flight of the Conchords reference. I didn't say it in a British accent, but just
what is that?
What is Flight of the Conchords? Mac.
What is
Mac.
that?
Oh my gosh. It's a British comedy band. Oh my goodness. Wow. All right. Well, you have some homework. It's a TV show or a TV series also. Flight of the Conchords. I'll send you some songs.
Oh, okay.
Your life's gonna improve by 6% after this. So.
That's a lot, actually.
Exactly.
Okay.
I meant what I said. All right.
Let's do this. Okay. See you guys in the next podcast and or stream. I'm super excited for all of it. Thank you for being here and for being hearts. Have a good rest of your day, guys. Until next time.
Mwah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay.